So NIO stock was down 2% last week. It's down 15.6 on the month. It's down 27% over the last 3 months. And it's down 20% year to date. So NIO stock is looking bearish. We've got a sea of red on the analytics. And it does look as if now price is moving down to test that $3 support, which could be the bottom, but that's unconfirmed. In this video, I'm going to analyze last week's price action and offer some thoughts on where NIO stock is going to head next. Let's take a look. Now, if you enjoy my analysis of NIO stock today or other stocks on my channel, you may also enjoy my email newsletter. If you subscribe, I'll send you professional trading tips to help you make more profits trading stocks. I'll leave a link in the description below. Check it out. So looking on the weekly chart for NIO stock, we can see last week it was down 2% and it's down 15% on the month. And importantly, last week's bar did close underneath this key price level of 361. So it does look as if now, after closing underneath that key price level, the probability is now that the price is going to move down and possibly test this level of $3 again. The first thing it needs to do over the next few weeks is take out this low here of 335. So if it breaks this low here, then the chances are it's going to keep going lower and it's going to come down and test this $3 support once again. Now, if we zoom out on the weekly chart for NIO, we can see this key price level of 360 has been tested in the past. So here there was a price trough during April 2024. Price came back to test this level before taking off, and it did find support there. Again, in August 2024, so almost a year ago now, price did come down to test 360. And once again, it found support and moved up. And here again in the end of August 2024, it also found support. And this was the start of that big surge up to the most previous price peak of 771. So it has found support at 360 on multiple occasions in the past. However, more recently, we can see that it did fall through back in March 2025, found support at $3 and pushed back up. But it couldn't exceed this level here, 444. It found resistance here, couldn't get past that point. And since that time, it has been bearish. It has fallen away. And now, last week, it did fall and close underneath this key level of 360. So the chances are now that price is heading down to $3 again to test this key support level. Now, the big question is $3 the bottom? If it comes down again and tests and moves back up, that could be the case. But we just don't know until price comes to that level and we see the buying and selling interest at that $3 level. Don't forget, if we look at this price action back here, where price came to 360 on multiple occasions, this big reversal bar here would have tricked some buyers into thinking that NIO was on the up and that was the bottom. And once again, it came back to test here on 2 occasions, a really big bar moving up, really bullish. And of course, some buyers would have bought in during this surge and perhaps made a bit of profit up until this peak here. But of course, we know this was a short-term counter trend. If we zoom out, we can see that the trend will always conform to the longer term, stronger trend, which, as we know, is trending downwards since January 2021. There is a strong long-term trend in place for NIO, and it is bearish, it is downwards. However, more recently, we can see that this trend is slowing down. It has slowed down and found support here before moving back up, and now it's broken lower. So we might see the same pattern unfold over the next few weeks to months. We might get this sort of double bottom pattern with support at $3. We might get a surge. It might spike back up just as it did here, but then it might fall away again. Don't forget, the long-term trend is still downwards. So we have to expect the short-term trend to conform to the stronger long-term trend. That's how it works. So zooming back in, if we do get this double bottom pattern, if it does come back to test $3 once again, and history repeats itself and we get a counter trend, then we might see price move back up to challenge around about 460, perhaps underneath this trend line here. It could be around 460, 450, around this point here. But with that strong long-term trend in place, we should expect it to fall away once again. Now, whether it falls back to $3 or it goes lower, we just don't know yet. Now, zooming out on the weekly chart for NIO, we can see that underneath this level here of $3, the next support level would correspond to this significant low back in July 2019. And that's around about $2.30. So let's mark that up, $2.30. And underneath $2.30, we've also got a significant low here of $2.10. And underneath $2.10, we've got the all-time low of $1.19. So these are the levels underneath the current price action which NIO could fall into. It could fall into and find support. So right now, it looks as if NIO is moving down, and the next level of support would be $3. If it breaks that, then it's looking like it's going to move down to $2.35. This might unfold over the next 3 to 6 months. Now, of course, this is all assuming that the price action conforms to the longer term trend, with no catalyst and no news announcements, no positive changes in NIO's financials. But of course, we know this year could be a key year for NIO. Management is talking about Q4 profitability, but it has discussed these things in the past and hasn't delivered. So if NIO can deliver on the promises, if it can deliver greater sales and reduce those losses to a more manageable amount, and potentially post profit by Q4, or maybe Q1 or Q2 in the next financial year, then that would be the catalyst to start the stock moving. I don't think we're going to see any price surge for NIO, any price increase, until NIO posts improved financial results, and that's going to attract investors back in. I think a lot of long-term investors have been waiting patiently for NIO to turn around, but it just hasn't happened yet. But it could happen in the future. And I think the first stage of building the confidence for investors to perhaps buy more stock of NIO, or older investors to come back in and have the confidence that NIO is going to move up and does offer growth, it's going to have to post more positive financials in its earnings report. And obviously it's got that first opportunity in the Q2 report in a few months' time. Now, if that report shows significant reductions in costs and growing sales, that could really slow down the price decline and it might bottom out. But I think it's only going to be until NIO starts to get close to profitability and the numbers look realistic in that NIO will achieve profitability perhaps in the next quarter, we might see investors come back in quickly to try and buy up the stock, get a great price before that predicted breakout. And for long-term investors wanting to grow their portfolio with NIO in there, I think the key level for me is $7.72. It does correspond to this peak created back in September 2024. So if NIO can improve its financials, investors come back in, and perhaps $3 is the bottom, then we might see price break out something like this. Price might consolidate a while between this 3 and 361 level, perhaps over the next few months. But the moment that positive earnings report shows strong sales, reduced losses, and the steps towards profitability look real and perhaps imminent in the next quarter, this is when we're going to see investors come back in, when they see it's actually going to happen, they're going to hit profitability. And if that does happen, we might get the stock surge immediately, and it might break out above $5 straight away, perhaps reach some resistance at this 771 level before coming back to test 568 and then breaking above the 770 level. So for long-term investors, I think this is a key level. Once price gets above here, you've got that confidence that NIO has cleared out all of this price action here. It's cleared all of it. And the probability is, once it's got above those levels and stopped consolidating, stopped moving downwards, and exceeded this peak here, the probability is that it will keep moving up after this peak. So I think for long-term investors and a low-risk entry, this would be a great level to get in at. So overall, NIO stock is looking bearish right now. It does look as if the probability is it's going to move down and test $3 again. So investors must be patient if they're keen on this stock. As previously mentioned, there is huge upside potential for this stock, but until it posts those numbers that are financially sound, I don't think investors are going to come back in and see value in this stock. If you're holding it, be patient, but of course, you can only hold it so far before you have to cut your losses and move on to another stock. Thanks for watching.